Hello everyone and welcome to a new IBMI RPG sample video. Today I'd like to talk about one of the last functions that we can use in our RPG programs. This function is split. With split we can split a string of characters by indicating one or more separators. You'll see how simple it is. Let's go. Well, let's make this video as practical as possible. Let's start with VS Code. And I'm gonna create a new program in RPG. Let me see. Okay. Okay, as always, let's write the first lines of code. The program will be a program without logic cycle, so let me write it. Let me make it bigger. Okay, this is gonna be the main procedure. Well, let's now create a string. The string is gonna be declared as this. And the string is gonna be, this is an example of how to use split. Okay. Well, if you have never used split, but you have needed to split a string using a separator such as a comma or a semicolon, you have probably used one or more loops, variables, and a lot of substrings. Maybe you have a procedure to do that or a program that can do that in your system. Okay, but with split we only have to use the function directly over the string using the separator that we need, or more than one if needed. And you have to know that the functions returns an array of strings. Okay, so let's write the code. Let me declare as an array of strings, pieces. For example, okay. And now we can do pieces is equal to split of string using a separator. In this case, we are going to use the space because we want to separate our string into different words. Okay, and that's it. Okay, doing this, it will work correctly directly just with one sentence. Well, let me compile the program and see if it works correctly. First, let me write this, for example, pieces 1. Okay, and let me compile the program. Okay, and let's go to the green screen. Well, let's open a debug session to see how it works. Okay, let me stop the program here and let's call it. Well, string has this value. Okay, and if I run this this line of code, then what I have in pieces is this. This is an example of how to use split. Okay, so the string has been splitted and we have every word in a different position into our array of strings. Okay, so it works correctly. As you see, the function is working great. Let me change this. I don't need this so much space here. Let me run the program again. Well, as you see, it works correctly. Okay, now a question. What happens if I have possible empty strings in my string? For example, imagine if I add 2 spaces instead of 1 between 2 words in my string. If we run the program, we will see that it acts in the same way. That's it. It acts by separating the substrings, but it does not take into account possible empty strings. Okay? This could be a problem if what we want to do is to split on a string that contains, for example, commas or semicolons that comes from a CSV file. In these cases, we often find the separators together because there is no data in those columns. For example, imagine a spreadsheet with columns where there is no data. Well, to get split, to treat these strings and take into account possible empty substrings, we will use the parameter ALLSEP. So in this example, if I add here a new space, okay, what we have to do is to add here a new parameter named ALLSEP. Okay, so if we do this and we compile the program again, let's see how it works. Okay, let's stop the program here and let's run it. And if you see, pieces now has this information. This is an example. Now we have an empty substring here, okay, of how to use a split. Why there is a substring here that is empty? Well, that is because between example and of we have 2 spaces, okay? So the program is understanding that between these 2 blank spaces there is a different word, so it is taking into account the empty substrings, okay? As you can see, it also works perfectly, interpreting each separator, splitting the string correctly. Well, okay, I don't want to finish without doing a final little example. As you know, split returns an array of strings. This array is temporary, and we can use it as input to a for each loop. So, if we don't want to, we don't have to store the result. We simply use it as input to a loop, okay? For example, we can do this. We can do something like this. For each piece in split string ALLSEP, oops, and for, and we can write here piece. We can remove this, and we can remove this too, and piece can be something like this, okay? So what is going to do this? Well, the program is going to make a loop from the first position of the string of the array of strings returned by split to the last position, and it is going to write the content of every position that is a string, okay? Well, let me compile the program and show it to you how it works. Let's go to the green screen, and if I see, okay, let's run the program, and if you see, this for each is going to write to the job log every word that is inside the string, okay? And if you are using ALLSEP, it is going to write an empty string between example and of, okay? So if if I run the program and I see my job log, this is the result. Okay, so this way we can avoid saving the array and it is still processed correctly. Well, as you have seen, this is an example of how using the new functions and the new features of the language we can improve our code, make it more visual, and of course improve its performance. I hope you liked the video and that it was useful to you. As always, remember to like and subscribe if you aren't already. See you on the next video. Thanks for watching.